This is not Earth. It is my world. I have been chosen to be the god of this world. But I may be erased. Because there are 27 other gods like me. So I need to gain the recognition of the beings in that world. And create faith. Only with more believers can I win this divine selection competition. Otherwise death awaits me. The man's name is Xing Yun. He is a top player in a game called Lost World. In the game he develops technology. And defeats the second-ranked player Dominance. Becomes the first player to complete all achievements. Just as he was complaining about how boring the game was, a mysterious email suddenly appeared on the screen. Congratulations on completing all achievements. The test server has ended. Lost World is now planning its official release. Player Xingyun can enjoy the game before the official service starts. Do you want to enter the game? Looking at the invitation in front of him, Xingyun did not hesitate. He decisively clicked the confirmation button. But when he opened his eyes again, he found himself in a ruined square. This confused him greatly. Was he dreaming? At that moment a voice interrupted him. A mysterious woman appeared before him. She knew everything about Xingyun. Seeing Xingyun's concerned expression, the mysterious woman reassured him. He was not the only one here. As she slowly raised her hands, a blue planet floated in the air. Could it be Earth? But soon Xingyun rejected his own thoughts. Because he had seen the landscapes of that continent many times. That game, Lost Continent. And everyone here could potentially become a true god. Lost World is not just a world that exists in a game. This land was abandoned by the gods due to something in the past. On that planet, brilliant civilizations thrived. Different races lived in harmony. Now, it is time for them to welcome the new god. The purpose of the Lost Continent's creation. The purpose is to find a suitable new candidate for that planet. And it's essentially just like the game. As long as you gain the faith of the natives through effort, you can become the only god on this planet. Xingyun found this unbelievable. What if I choose to give up? The mysterious woman gave an explanation. If you give up now, you will return to your daily life. And you will lose all memory of this place. Once you join the game you cannot quit. And there are only two possible endings. Disappearance or becoming the god of that world. After explaining the rules, the mysterious woman signaled that they had a quarter of an hour to decide. Soon only 27 people remained. Xingyun guessed that they were invited. According to the game's maximum player limit. Then the mysterious woman took out a strange card. Just like Lost World, choose a small area to start your game. As the top-ranked player, Xingyun was the first to choose a card. Upon taking the card, he was transported to the game's starting location. But he was very frustrated. He didn't expect his luck to be so bad as the first to draw a card. It turned out he drew the lowest win rate area, an insect zone. And he could only control insect-like creatures. It was unlucky but also lucky. Because this location was in the remote eastern part of the continent. This meant that battles here were rare, giving him enough time to develop. In that sense, the insect-eating competition would be a good starting point. Like those frogmen, but what troubled him was the number of tribes. As the first tribe it was hard to expand. Because there were too many frogmen, 500 of them. And his faith points were only 10. This had no impact on the well-fed frogmen. So he had to find new followers. He soon discovered some lizard men. They also ate insects, and they could survive here without water. After careful observation, a young injured lizard man caught his attention. They were from a primitive tribe. He must have been ousted in a power struggle. He felt more and more like he had been abandoned by this world. The more he wanted to change his fate. In this desolate region even water was scarce, let alone food. But just then, the lizard men became very excited. Because they discovered an injured antelope. The strong young lizard men rushed over first. The elderly and weak had to wait until the young ones finished eating the meat. And were left with only a small portion of bones. However, some lizard men believed the food should not be given to those near death. It turned out that they had encountered saber-toothed tigers earlier. Clarka had protected them. The tribe suffered serious injuries. The tribe believed they should not abandon him. The scene shifted to night. The lizard men had all gone to rest. But at that moment, Clarka was awakened by a sound. When he looked closely, he was surprised to see a butterfly. This puzzled him greatly. It felt as though something was calling him. Clarka immediately followed the butterfly. When he reached the mountaintop, he discovered a mountain of piled-up beetles. He stared in disbelief at what he saw. Could this be a miracle? After receiving the gift of food, Xingyun also gained the faith of the lizard men. Because these beetles were their hope for survival, he also prepared to implement his next plan. Meanwhile, the lizard man tribe had acknowledged it as the god's guidance, and referred to him as the nameless beetle god. After gaining so many resources for the tribe, Clarka's position in the tribe had also risen. At that moment he saw the butterfly's guidance again. But when others learned that the direction to go was the cold one, They started to hesitate. They planned to ask Clarka to try another direction. But he felt they should follow the butterfly's guidance. Because in this wilderness there was nothing. Rather than searching aimlessly, it was better to follow the god's guidance. Meanwhile Xingyun silently watched from behind. They still lacked faith, so he couldn't intervene with them. If they believed in me, they will experience a future they never imagined. Clarka followed the direction of the guidance, and soon discovered an oasis in the desert. He believed that the nameless beetle god had led them to this sacred place. Meanwhile Xingyun's divine level was increased. The small area bug's level also increased to level 72, and he received the blessing of the bug's power. This strengthened Clarka's abilities. The scene shifted to night. Now upgraded Xingyun could enter their dreams. Xingyun needed Clarka's help to create his own image. Then a bull's skull appeared on his body. This must be the appearance of the nameless beetle god. The next day he announced what he dreamed of the previous night. They needed to hunt a wild bull to create the beetle god's image. But the tribe disagreed with his plan, because the wild bull herd was too dangerous for them. Even so Clarka insisted on his viewpoint, so he planned to go alone. The tribe looked at him in disbelief. He reassured them not to worry, because he had received the god's blessing. His injuries had not only healed, but his strength had also increased. With a thrown spear, a large tree several meters away was pierced clean through. At that moment, a herd of wild bulls passed by the mountain. Clarka knew this was the god's guidance. He immediately charged toward the herd alone. With just one spear he killed one. Seeing this the others rushed to help. That night, Clarka had used the bull's bones to create an image of the god. He performed a ritual for it, thanking the nameless beetle god for the gift. Though it was a rushed and clumsy ceremony, it was filled with sincere devotion. Because Xingyun's faith had greatly increased, it was all worth it. It turned out that before this Xingyun had lured the bull herd down the mountain to provide them with resources. What he didn't expect was that they even ate the calves. At this stage, it was hard to expect them to master the knowledge and skills related to herding. The population support in this oasis was not very high. It would last at most a few years. In their current state, they know nothing about agriculture or herding. This period may be difficult to endure. It is too difficult for them to grasp certain knowledge on their own. Due to the restrictions of the rules they cannot be directly told. Soon Xingyun came up with a plan. But it would take a long time. The scene shifted to a few days later. Clarka had a strange dream that night. He saw the altar shaking, as if it was signaling that something major was happening. When he climbed the altar, he saw a powerful tribe coming toward them. From the color of their skin, he deduced that they were Clarka's former tribe. More importantly, their leader seemed very powerful, because he was riding a terrifying earth dragon. Looking at their numbers, seemed like the entire tribe had come. This meant that their former homeland had been devoured by them. Clarka guessed that they might have passed through here, because their location required climbing to the mountaintop to see clearly. But unexpectedly their patrol team had become overly enthusiastic. Exposing their location early, they warned them not to pass through here. The leader didn't expect this unexpected surprise. It seemed like these people weren't very smart. Clarka signaled not to worry. It could also be the god's arrangement. Are you saying he's testing us? Clarka gave a confident answer. Maybe this isn't a test but a mission. I believe that accepting and saving them is our mission. After all they are just like us. Just then the butterfly appeared again. Is this also the god's will? It's hard to think much further, but I will do my best to convey your will. Seeing Clarka's actions, he seemed to understand Xingyun's intentions. Clarka's tribe and the blue-skinned tribe must unite for population growth and technological progress. What surprised Xingyun was that without the dream's guidance Clarka made this decision on his own. Could it be because of his strong will? Because his willpower had reached 14 points? Clarka felt an unprecedented surge of power. I don't know how you avoided it, but you won't escape the second time. At this moment Clarka felt no fear. Even without divine power, he could still defeat the leader on his own. But the problem was he first had to deal with the Earth Dragon. The Earth Dragon's strength was 87 points, while Clarka's strength was 30 points. But he had received a blessing skill body enhancement. Now the Earth Dragon was no match for him, because the blessing had enhanced his strength with a D-tier divinity. A D-tier is 200 times the maximum power of normal strength. Simply put, Clarka's strength had now reached over 600 points. This huge gap in strength would inspire awe in everyone. With just one strike Clarka defeated the Earth Dragon. They knew that no one could have done this except with the blessing of a god. But the leader still wasn't convinced. He picked up a short sword and charged at Clarka. He didn't expect to be so stubborn. Clarka immediately gave him a slap, and he passed out. Anyone else? Seeing this, the others quickly dropped their weapons and surrendered. At that moment, the blessing time also came to an end. He too looked at his body in disbelief. Just praying felt like the god was within him. Seeing Clarka's performance, Xingyun was also very satisfied. The scene shifted to night. Clarka was thinking about how to proceed next. Because the number of new arrivals was 6 times their current population. He realized this small oasis could not support so many people, so they had to move out to establish a stronger civilization. He also realized that after merging with another tribe, they had brought many different people. The next day he found a blacksmith who knew how to make iron tools. He asked him about the materials and conditions needed to make weapons. The blacksmith told him that if not for the leader's stubbornness, he could have made better tools long ago. Because the process required a lot of wood, burn and create special fuel. Clarka looked at the short sword in his hand deep in thought. Good tools not only improve hunting, but also increase the tribe's overall combat power. I will think about it and give you an answer tomorrow. After the blacksmith left, a one-armed lizard man arrived. It turned out he had heard that Clarka was looking for a guide. So he decided to offer his help. Clarka immediately asked him a question. You must have been wandering. The one-armed lizard man smiled and confirmed it. This is the body of an old wanderer, seeking a place to belong. During this process I learned to see directions clearly. Upon hearing this, Clarka became very curious. What made him so confident? The one-armed lizard man looked up. Then he pointed to the sky above. My answer is up there. Not just the sky. Clarka guessed it was the stars. The one-armed lizard man confirmed his guess. Though he didn't know if the stars truly moved, he could use them to determine direction. If you know the path of the star map, you won't easily lose your way. Looking at the vast starry sky, Clarka was also deeply amazed. So the one-armed lizard man decided to teach him how to read the stars. In the one-armed lizard man's understanding, the stars are moving. They change according to different seasons. As time passed, it was already late at night. The one-armed lizard man said he would test Clarka on what he had learned tomorrow night. After he left, the guard watching the earth dragon found Clarka. He said that after feeding it today, the dragon had become much calmer. It turned out that earlier, Anon was extremely violent toward anyone. The guards had no way to control it. But after seeing Clarka, its behavior changed. After seeing Clarka, the earth dragon trembled. The fear from deep within made each of its movements cautious. It ate the food Clarka gave it. Meanwhile, Clarka signaled for it to remain quiet from now on. After that, Manon became much more obedient. He knew that the god must have a purpose in keeping Manon alive. They just hadn't discovered it yet. But the guard had other matters to discuss with Clarka. Because during lunchtime when feeding Manon, he had an insight. Since he could tame such a powerful creature as the earth dragon, he wondered if others like it could also be tamed. Clarka asked him to share his thoughts. Then he pointed to the wild buffalo herd down the mountain. On the other side, Xingyun also received a task prompt. Clarka's tribe noticed the wild buffalo herd and gained the herding skill. It is said that at some point in human history, humanity split into 2 branches. Some humans focused on agriculture, while others focused on herding. Although this wasn't technically the primitive society, the development directions in the game were the same. The origins of great civilizations are often along major river basins, which greatly facilitated agriculture. But the tribe Xingyun chose was the Lizardmen tribe. They have strong bodies and excellent adaptability to the environment. What they needed more was pasture, not agriculture. Now they just needed guidance, and they would develop their civilization faster. The development of manufacturing gave their progress wings. With Clarka's support, the blacksmith obtained the materials to forge stronger iron tools. With the blacksmith's efforts, they were finally able to produce basic iron tools. Currently these tools may be softer than finely crafted bronze tools. But for Clarka's former tribe, they had only used stone tools, because they had no other choice. But now iron tools would provide great assistance. What surprised Xingyun the most was that he had an unexpected gain. Astronomy. Of course, it was too primitive to be called astronomy. Astrology would probably be a better term. But in the distant future, it would open a path to change the world. Clarka looked at the starry night sky, and he understood why the one-armed lizard man said the stars were the guides of the sky. Although they seemed unpredictable, they could clearly point the way to the future. After gaining sharp iron tools, Clarka decided to share his thoughts with everyone. The god has brought us to this land for a long time. He even allowed us to see our former tribe. It was the god who allowed us to survive. But those who were driven from the wilderness, they will die in the wilderness. God wants salvation, not exclusion. We survived so we can help more people. Because this is the god's will. I have decided that at dawn we will leave this place to find more resources. Then Clarka signaled the one-armed lizard man to Teach the others how to observe the stars and their movements, and the places they will go. The one-armed lizard man pointed to where the sun rises. After dawn, when the morning sun rises, we will head to the right of the sun. We will walk for 10 days. Then walk 15 more days to the right along the withered lake. Then we will walk 3 more days along the desolate mountain roads and valleys. Finally we will reach our destination. It's an endless forest. There will be more food and resources there. Our tribe will become stronger. Meanwhile, Clarka called Ewer over, and asked why he hadn't eaten the buffalo. Ewer, confused by Clarka's question, thought he had done something wrong. Ewer hurriedly explained that he wasn't very hungry at the time. Everyone was busy hunting buffalo, yet you didn't eat any. At this moment Ewer was a bit at a loss. I didn't think too much about it at the time. Just wasn't feeling hungry. If I didn't resist, I don't know if I could eat it when I'm really hungry. That's what I thought. Upon hearing this, Clarka affirmed his approach. Although you may want to eat the beef now, you must prepare for the future. Then he asked Ewer if he could continue. As long as I don't starve, I'm willing to do this. Good. Clarka then decided to give them a greater mission. A sharp spear appeared before everyone. Seeing this, everyone was greatly astonished, because even the leader before couldn't possess such a fine weapon. This is a reward for those who can overcome their own appetites. Everyone was very pleased with the reward given to them. This made those who didn't receive rewards want one too. So they wanted to do better. Meanwhile, Clarka picked up a piece of buffalo bone and placed it on his face. He did this to show them that they were now responsible for protecting the tribe's safety, because in this wilderness dangers lurk everywhere. Soon a buffalo bone warrior appeared before everyone. Each person kept the nameless beetle god in their heart. The nameless beetle god will be with you. At this moment Clarka knew this wasn't the god's will.